We are live.
All right.
All right, hey guys, we're live. It is the Wednesday show. We're going to be breaking down quite a bit of Browns news and current Browns happenings. We're 10-4. We got the Jets. We're going back to New York for the second time in a row, strangely enough, as the schedule makers had it set up this year. All right, before we get into it, I just want to introduce everybody. I got, as always, my co host of the Wednesday show, Mike Ristano, over there. And down in the middle, I've got my dad, who's the co-host of the pre and post game shows. Want to say hello to you guys. I'll start with you, Mike. How's everything going?
Good. Can't complain. I mean, we're well into December, and we got a 10-win team going back to MetLife. I'm not happy about going back in the way of having to play on that turf. That scares me.
Yep.
So I'm just hoping, we go up there, we take care of business like we should. It again should be a two score victory at least. Keep the injuries to zero, or if anything, just very minimal kind of tweaks here and there that are not gonna affect next week and or the following week, I should say, and yeah, and then the Steelers come to town, and I'm a little, I'll tell you what, guys, I'll feel a lot better if Saturday night the Raiders just take care of the Dolphins and we don't have to worry about the what ifs. I still think this team will win out, but I'm getting too old for this stressful
Mhm.
wishing and hoping. So that's where I'm at, guys.
There you go. How about you, Dad? How's everything going in down in sunny South Florida?
It is nice and sunny. It was a beautiful day today, and but it is quickly going to change. I understand there's a big cold front coming down, going through the southeast, and we are going to have a high of I think 54 degrees on Christmas morning. So get your woolies out for Christmas Eve and Christmas morning. Then it warms back up on Saturday a little bit, and then we're back to normal by Sunday in the Jets game. So that's encouraging. This whole front, blows out by that point. But as far as where I stand at this point, I could not believe that Cincinnati won that game
Hmm.
on Monday night. That
Yep.
that really put a lot of things in play. It showed how beatable the Steelers are. They played terrible except for a stretch right after the first half, going into the second half. Cincinnati got the ball first, which I thought was a positive, but they ran twice and threw a bad pass and 3 and out. So what does Pittsburgh do? They go run right down, score. Now they're sort of back in the game. And then they stop Cincinnati again and they run right down and kick a field goal. And now it's 17-10. And that was in the third quarter, and it was late, and I went to bed. I said, I'm not going to watch them blow this game and watch the Pittsburgh come back and win. Well, I woke up, usually early, and I have it taped, got my coffee, watched it, and to my great surprise, Cincinnati held on and played well throughout the third quarter, stopped them, and then in the fourth quarter, they played really well, including that, I don't know, was it like a 35-yard touchdown by Finley
Yeah.
on a bootleg. And of course, then they tried it several times later in the quarter, and they sacked him every time he tried to bootleg. So Pittsburgh learned, but they learned the hard way because that put them up, and I said they may win this game. They may win this game, and I'm fast forwarding through the tape, and it was great. I mean, so I think Pittsburgh has got some real problems, and I guess my question to you guys are we rooting for Pittsburgh to lose, or are we rooting for the Colts to win?
I think Saturday. See, we get the benefit, I think, because Saturday is the Raiders Dolphins game, so we can root really, 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 really hard for the Raiders on Saturday, and it's in Vegas, so we got
Right.
that going for us. I think Carr's back, and if if that goes to plan and the Raiders win, then we don't even have to worry about it. We're in, and the rest is gravy. But real
Yeah, but
quick,
then we hope Pittsburgh loses. So
yeah,
that then it becomes a real meaningful game for us as far as winning the championship,
yeah,
of the division.
and I don't. I mean, unless something drastic happens in Pittsburgh, I don't see, and I don't want to jinx anything, but I I won't go ahead of myself a week, but I don't see how the Colts lose to that team. But I mean, stranger things have happened. But when you were talking about that game, Dan,
Mm-hmm.
and you going to sleep, and I was going back and forth with Mike. So the fantasy league that of mine that me and Mike are in, I was in the semifinal round, and my team finished up, and I think roughly like a point and a half down. And the guy I was playing had Eric Ebron and the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So at that point, I was buried. There was no way that I even had a shot.
Uh,
Well, Christmas came early because Ebron got hurt. He got zero. We saw what the Bengals did to the Steelers, and I won by like 3 points. So
wow.
So it was their defense got negative points? Is that what put you over the edge?
so he had zero, and then the defense only gave him two. So it was you know how they take the points away. So as soon as the game started, like he went up,
Oh, okay.
and then yeah,
It started, yeah, trickling down. Yeah, when I was watching, so I started off the night and we're putting the kids to bed, and my dad's texting me because he's watching the Bengals game. He's like, hey,
yeah,
these, and he texted early. He was like, hey, it was like 3-0 Bengals, and he
Right.
was like, hey, the Bengals could win this game. Pittsburgh looks bad, so I was like, all right, well,
They
keep me.
had like four, three and outs in a row. They set a record for Pittsburgh. It may have been 5 3 and outs, or before they got a first down. And so I kept watching that, and that's when I texted Michael. I said, "These guys could lose. They're playing like crap."
yeah,
Right. So we're sitting there and we're putting the kids to sleep, and then I get on to start watching TV, and I was gonna watch like something else, just keep an eye on the game. And then when they went up 10-0, I was like,
Right.
let me flip over to this to see. Right when I flipped over to it, they scored again to go 17-0, and I was like, okay, now it's a game. They spotted them 17 points, and now we got to see if Pittsburgh can come back from this.
Right.
And it was just, you know, they not only held on, but they kept going. So
Then I had a friend who was in 2 pick'em leagues, and he was in the finals for the Monday night game. I think it was the Monday night game, and he got screwed twice. He was winning on a tiebreaker on the score
mhm.
until Cincinnati decided to kick that field goal at the end with 12 seconds left
yeah.
or 20 seconds left, and he's screaming at the TV.
So was I actually.
But don't kick that field goal. Please don't kick that field goal. Just, take a knee or do a
Yeah,
running play, or, he's saying, oh, you can get that blocked and run back for a touchdown. I said, no,
that's
you
what I
got
was waiting
a
for.
12-yard
Yeah,
field
you
goal.
got to you got to you got to
Yeah,
kick
it's
that
the
field.
game. And he lost $450 on that kick.
Yeah, I
Well,
was waiting for it to be blocked and go the other way, and then I was just gonna cry myself to sleep.
well, I was looking at it, and when they took the team back out on the field, I was sitting there
Yeah,
like, they're either just going out there to try to draw them off, or that's the dumbest that their coach get fired,
yeah.
because he obviously doesn't know how to win football games if you're gonna make that decision. Real quick, just want to give out some shout outs to some people in the good old chat, starting with our friends over on Twitch. Since we're multi-streaming, we got Rachel Redhead 13, Bulldog 2279, Jones 24 152. I'm just gonna say your names from now on because like the numbers after it's getting silly. And then over on the YouTube side of the house, Mario G's in the house, Keith C, S Zupon. Scrolling down. Mark Showens here. I've Gutta. I think it's I've Gutta or I've Gutta. Jason Kimball, I see in the house. Ham Bones here. We got Odin Max, Kyle Duffield. I think we got it. Christian M is in the house as well. I'm watching you guys on the chat. So you guys can watch on both sides, either on Twitch or on the YouTube side of the house. But guys, we had a lot to talk about today. Starting off, obviously the Browns are 10-4. First time they've had 10 wins since 2007. Only the second time since being back into the league. Interestingly enough, I think the first time we made the playoffs back in 2002, we only won 9 games. Now it's going to, at a minimum, take 11 to get there. And just based off of what I see in terms of the other teams and everything like that, and it could very well take 12 for us to get there. But I think if we get to 12, there's a really good chance we're going to win the division. So that's good because, like Mike, what you were saying, I think the Steelers, I just don't see them beating the Colts. Stranger things have happened. Yeah. This has been a strange year, especially the end of the year. But you just have to look at that Steeler team and wonder a couple things. Number one, did those injuries make that big a difference to these guys? Losing guys like Bud Dupree and Devin Bush, did those guys, were they that critical to the offense or the defense? And then secondary, did they just run out of gas? Right? Did Father Time finally bless you, Dad? Did Father Time finally catch up with Ben Roethlisberger?
Oh, I think so. What's funny is we hate to we have and I don't care what anybody says, because you could tell me that, oh, I mute this guy or whatnot. I don't care. You're lying to me, because I know everybody that mutes Colin Cowherd always sneaks back to see what's going on, because, even though he rags on us a lot, you go back because it's interesting, and you want to see, we're gluttons for punishment. We want to see, what the next thing is. But I don't know if you guys saw this, but I was watching a segment yesterday, and he was talking about, Tom Brady and LeBron, and he used those two as an example, and he said, you look at those guys and they're the exception. Brady, in his 40s, and LeBron in the league for a million years, and you basically are a product of what you put into your body. And he was, basically saying those guys spend millions a year, just on nutrition, making sure that, their body is a well-oiled machine. And, that's why they really haven't, faded much. And then he was like, then you talk about Ben Roethlisberger, and, nobody's shy about, and not even him, that, he works on, playing golf, smoking cigars, and drinking beer. So when they talked about, what his rehab was like, it's nothing, even remotely, not even a third or a quarter, or, not even a pinky of what, those other guys do. And Russell Wilson's another guy, but he's young. But moral of the story is, you can't be Ben Roethlisberger's age and go through a surgery like that and not rehab like an actual athlete, and expect to just be able to take a snap, drop back, and just find somebody and sling it. Because unfortunately, we see Father Time has caught up with him. Right. And the moral of Colin's story was, he's not the kind of guy that, is looking out for his body and whatnot. So, barring the guys from Beachbody throwing millions of dollars at Ben Roethlisberger to put him in a program to help him get in shape to the best of money can buy, short of that, and I don't think that'll help either.
I went to physical therapy on Monday and check into the hospital, and they check your temperature, and they give you a little card and whatnot. And the security guard is right next to the guy checking me in, sitting behind the plexiglass. And I look at him, and he's this huge guy with arms out to here, like a wrestler, with tattoos from his wrists all the way up, sitting there with his arms folded. And I had my Browns shirt on. And he looks at me and he says, you're a Browns fan, huh? And I said, yeah. He says, I'm a Steelers fan. And I said, oh, okay. and, and so I got my badge and everything. And as I'm walking away, I was chit chatting a little bit with him. I said, you got a tough game tonight. You got the Bengals. And he said, man, we're going to win that game. But I don't like Roethlisberger. I think he's done. I don't like him. We have no backup. We're in trouble. And I said, well, have a nice day.
Enjoy.
Yeah, I think. Well, they were talking about it during the game that he wants to come back next year, and
Yeah.
for his final contract year, and I just don't understand these guys. I mean, if I'm Ben Roethlisberger, and this is all you know how to do. This is what you kind of were put on earth to do, and you've won 11 games. You made it to the playoffs, and any team that makes the playoffs has a chance to win the Super Bowl. And when I say that, while of course I think the Chiefs could be unstoppable, I just think they're one of the best teams, balanced offense, defense, special teams, coaching, with the best player in the league, Pat Mahomes, the best athlete in the league, Tyreek Hill. But I will tell you, losing their running back is a big deal. And
True.
I was talking to my wife about it. She's like, "Well, it doesn't look like the Browns, really have a chance to win the Super Bowl this year." And I said, "Yeah, on paper, you never know, but you look at it like this. The year that the Patriots were undefeated and they got beat in the Super Bowl by the Giants, right? You got, if injuries happen, let's say Pat Mahomes gets injured, let's say his knee gets shot or something like that. Well, I mean, there you go. There's your window. In basketball a couple years ago, the Toronto Raptors took out the Golden State Warriors because the Warriors had injuries. And, it's not the best way to win because you're not playing against a full strength team, but, we don't have a full strength team either. So you look at it like that. I mean, a championship's a championship.
Against Miami, he had 3 picks in that game. So at times Mahomes shows that he's human, but then again, he gets up for the big games. I mean, he really plays well when the pressure's on, and he just finds a way to win. And he's got the mobility, a lot more mobility than Baker has. And he's taller than Baker, and so he just scrambles like nobody's business. He's not afraid of a lineman being 3 feet in front of him. He just moves one way or the other when the lineman goes flying. So he's playing with a lot of confidence, and he's on a great team. So I mean, they are the team to beat.
Here's an interesting thing, guys, and Bulldog 2279 just said this on the Twitch chat that Roethlisberger is owed $41 million next year.
Oh,
so
he will. They'll have to. Well, no. I mean, either way, they can't cut him because he still gets his money. He's going to be hanging around town.
You don't walk away from $41 million.
No.
That is
arms hanging off.
Exactly. I mean, he'll do everything he can to get those game checks because that is insane. Steelers are backed into a $41 million. So Ben Roethlisberger has 41.25 cap hit in 2021 with a compensation package of $19 million. Okay, sorry. So it looks like he's got a compensation package of 19. If he plays next year, they'll have to extend his contract to knock down that cap charge. Eventually, a major cap reckoning is coming. So it's not only are they going to lose a generational quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger, but they're going to get nailed on the cap as well because they're going to have to extend him to kill that cap. And it's like, what do you do? The Steelers are in a world of pain coming up. But
it's funny because you touched on it a little bit earlier, and it was just a passing comment, but it was something along the lines of, it's been a crazy, second half of the season, and I mean, it really has. When you think about it, week 1 we get smoked, and we were like, all right, well, we had the COVID, no off season, whatever.
We also had
You
like
know,
coming out of that game, it was, hey, let's just get. We played on Thursday night that net following week,
yeah,
which I think helped to get us to go. Okay, we got crushed. Like let's put this aside. We don't have any time to think about this or dwell on it. We got to get ready for Thursday night.
yeah, and so we get our doors blown off. We beat the Bengals, and we're still not anywhere near a half-oiled machine. Baker is all over the place still.
Right.
And then we win a couple here and there, and then we get smoked by the Steelers. And I mean, it was. I mean, if you think back to that game, starting with that pick six, I mean, it was like it was almost like a JV team scrimmaging, a college team, and then all of a sudden we started stringing it together, and the Steelers were still doing their thing, and then all of a sudden, like they talk about hitting the rookie wall. Well, it's like the Steelers hit like old people wall, and all of a sudden we're clicking. They're going the wrong way. We lost to the Ravens on Monday night, but I mean that was a coin flip. I think either of those teams could have won.
Right.
And now we're at the point where, I mean, you got Ronnie Harrison back off of IR. Denzel's already back. I'll surprise you, like I said earlier before we went live, on another guy that is really stepping up, and his PFF number has gone through the roof. And, we've got the defensive line. There is no reason in my mind why, if we get into the dance, that it's not going to just be one dance and we're going home. I think we may be grabbing our sweetheart and having a couple dances.
Yeah.
I don't know how far, but it's just wild to me that I mean, it's the tale of two tapes, and here we are, and I hope we're dancing.
Well, a couple wild scenarios out there. There's a scenario that if the Steelers lose to the Colts and then we beat the Steelers and let's assume we're going to take care of the Jets, then we beat the Steelers and the Steelers then lose to the Colts and to the Browns, right? So if that happens and we win the division, the game we're going to have is the Steelers got to come back next week to play us again.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the two Steelers games in a row, and for them to potentially be looking at a 6-game losing streak to end the season, almost a historic collapse. It might be the biggest collapse, other than, I think, I think of one other season where it was a historic collapse, which was the Eagles, the year that they won 8 in a row and then lost the final 8 when Randall Cunningham broke his leg. But then it was because Randall Cunningham broke his leg.
Right.
But this is just, they win 11 games in a row and just crap the bed and crap themselves right out of they at one point they were fighting for the AFC lead, the number 1 seed, home field advantage in a bye, all the way to losing the division, having to go to an away game against a division rivalry team that you just then lost to the week before. Yeah, this is unprecedented.
The gaslight's on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it all started for them when against Washington, when Roethlisberger threw that pick 6, and they have not recovered from that. They lost that game. He didn't play well the rest of that game. Washington stepped up. They beat him when everybody thought they didn't have a chance. And I guess Buffalo beat him the next week, and soundly. And now Cincinnati beats them. So, I mean,
it's just unreal. Hey, I want to give a big shout out to J-Rod 122778. I know I said I wasn't going to say the numbers, but I'm not going to say the numbers. It's J-Rod. J-Rod just subscribed over on Twitch. And that's the cool thing about Twitch, guys. You can subscribe to the channel. It helps us support. It's bigger. We get a bigger percentage than even like the $1 Patreon stuff. And it's free if you have Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you're doing stuff, and you create a Twitch account, you can connect it. I have a little link in Twitch that says subscribe here, click that, and it's free, and it's awesome. So, J-Rod, I appreciate it, my friend. Go Browns. Thank you very much. Yeah, guys, in terms of what we're seeing with the Steelers, and I want to ask both of you guys this. We'll start with you, Mike.
Mhm.
Is Mike Tomlin's job on the line?
No, I don't think so. I think that if you look at this year, I mean, well, if you look at the body of work, I don't think 1 year, you know, gets him the axe. I think that they'll go through a little bit of a because I mean I wouldn't say they need. I mean I don't think that they're in a rebuilding type of situation by any stretch of the imagination. I think their defense is solid when the injuries don't hit, and I think on the offensive side of the ball, I mean they've got receivers for days. Connor just can't stay healthy, so I think they might need to upgrade that position. But I think ultimately it's the quarterback position, and I think if they can't figure that out, because there's nobody on the roster right now that that could go under center and lead this team. And I don't care if Dupree's back and Bush is back and whoever's back. There's not a guy on that roster that's going to lead that offense to what a you know previous arm injury Ben Roethlisberger could do. Now, I mean, you they sort of scare me in a way, and not this year. I'm not. I'm really, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I'm not saying that we're gonna beat them in week 17. I just don't think that you know where they are right now. I don't think that they're even a good team, and I don't think that anybody could really argue that point. But what scares me is, and what I just alluded to was, for me, they are one quarterback, solid quarterback, away from turning it back around. And I mean, you're going to hear Carson Wentz to Pittsburgh in the offseason, and I know he hasn't played well, but you just don't suck after 3 years in the league. After you were on pace to be a MVP candidate the year they won the Super Bowl. So Howie Roseman is to blame out there, out here. I know this because I live in the area, and if they got a Carson Wentz with those receivers and that offensive line, that would sort of frighten me next year. So I'm not really worried about next year. I'm worried more about now. But to answer your point, more importantly, I don't think that he's on the hot seat. I think it would take a little bit more for them to, they love continuity in Pittsburgh. I mean, how many coaches have they had since Chuck Noll? Two?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was just looking up too. Like, I mean, I don't remember. And Dad, maybe you remember what was going on, because Chuck Noll, when his last season with Pittsburgh was 1991. And chat, if you guys know that as well, please let us know. His last season was 91. He In 89 he went 9-7, made the playoffs, lost to the Broncos in the divisional round. 1990 went 9-7 again, came in third, did not make the playoffs. 1991 went 7-9, and did not make the playoffs, and then was gone. So I don't know if he got fired or if he was like, asked to retire, or if he retired on his own. Do you remember that, Dad?
A little bit of both, I
Yeah.
think, because he never took another job after that I know of.
Yeah.
So I think he was ready to go. I think he looked at the team and said, I don't have the talent. I'm going to go through another 9-7, 7-9 season, etc. So I think, but he was a great coach when they were, doing their thing
in the 70s.
And I don't think Tomlin's job is on the line unless they go 0-6 here to finish the season. Then the people in Pittsburgh would be screaming probably, especially the people that don't like him. He's got about a 50-50, maybe 70-30 positive following. I've heard a lot of Pittsburgh guys say, yeah, I don't really care for Tomlin, blah, blah, blah. So, but I think if he can salvage some of this at the end, for me, it's going to be key to watch that Colts game. If they come out and they play like they played for the last couple of games, I don't know. I don't know if you put that on the coaching staff or not, but or the game plan or whatever, but certainly on Roethlisberger, because he's the one that has to execute. And he did not execute very well on Monday night, and he hasn't for the last couple of weeks. They're getting to him.
Yep.
He's throwing some bad picks.
He just looks old.
His arm is not as strong as it
Yeah.
once was. But then again, he makes some nice touch passes. They let him down in the second half on that first drive, and he threw a nice, pretty pass into the end zone over the guy's shoulder in stride. And I thought, well, he's back. It took him a half, but he's back. He's throwing the ball well, and they had one odd drive after that, and then they went right back to the way they started the game, and that's why they lost.
Another thing I observed during that Bengals game was Roethlisberger historically, and we can all remember this, how many times our linebackers and defensive linemen would get in there and get right in his face, and he would just slip out and then throw it to Hines Ward for like a 60-yard, would turn into a 60-yard touchdown or something like that. This last game, when they got to him, he just collapsed.
Yeah.
He can't
very
move.
little mobility.
Yeah, he can't move anymore. Even the last couple years, even honestly, if you really go back to it, since Miles has been in the league, he's been pretty statuesque back there, and getting rid of the ball very quickly, and that's why teams have been jumping on him, and the Bengals jumped on him too, because they're like, oh, he's just slinging the ball really quickly, hot out of his hand. The Browns did it to him as well, but T. Mitch couldn't catch the ball, hit him in the face. So I think that's the new book on the Steelers is they know that Ben is still accurate. He still can throw, but he's got to get the ball out of his hands quickly because he can't move around.
And zero running game, so they're not paying attention to the fake, to the quarterback, to the running back at all, the play action at all. So he's throwing the ball nearly 50 times a game. When did he ever do that? I remember a couple of years in fantasy, he was one of the lowest. They were winning, but he was one of the lowest quarterbacks because he couldn't.
Yeah, he couldn't never put up points.
Yeah,
never put up points. And now all of a sudden, because they've changed, they have no running game. That he's got to throw, and he lit it up last year with fantasy points, maybe the year before. I don't know what he's doing. I guess he was doing pretty good when they were 11-0, but clearly throwing quickly. 2.2 seconds release, which is
that's fast.
It's history for him. I mean that's the best he's ever done. But he's forced to do that because if he, like you said, Mike, if he stands in the pocket too long, little bit too long, he doesn't have the escape capability that he used to have.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, looking at, the Colts, though, the Colts are a beatable team. The Colts beat the Texans 27-20, and then the week before that, they beat the Raiders, and they put it on the Raiders 44-27. The week before that, they beat the Texans again 26-20 in a very similar game. And then the week before that, they got shellacked by the Titans 45-26. So, the Colts are a weird team. They lose to the Jaguars.
With Rivers, if he's got a good game, they're going to be tough to beat. They're going to be competitive. If he's throwing picks or he's not doing well, and obviously one of those games, Mike, they had 5 guys out as far as their defense was concerned, and I picked them in my pick'em. Had I known they had 5 starters out on defense, I would have never picked them.
Yeah.
Well,
they're a team. They're a team that can beat the pants off the Raiders, and then get shellacked by the Titans, and then and the week before that beat the Packers,
right?
Lose to us, and then lose to the Jags. They've just had this their identity this year has just been
weird.
Very inconsistent. For only having 4 losses, they're just an odd. The games that they've lost have been odd, right? And right now their whole season comes down to this. It really comes down to this Steelers game, because after this game, their last one is against the Jags at home, a game that the Jaguars do not want to win, right? Talk about. Their playoffs is this weekend for the Colts, and they got to go to Pittsburgh, right? So they got to travel to Pittsburgh, a team that's wounded, and Pittsburgh's already in. So I mean, it's not a must win for them. It doesn't make a difference to them ultimately. I mean, they're going to make the playoffs. Whether they want to play at home or not is what's on the line.
Right.
So, but again, I think back a lot of times when I'm picking games in the NFL, who needs it more than the other team at this stage in the season? Right? This is a must-win, critical must-win for the Colts. I think the Colts are going to do it. So
I think so too.
we will see. But I think like Mike was mentioning earlier, my whole everything, all the drama in terms of like my blood pressure for the season will be gone if the Raiders take care of the Dolphins.
Fingers
If they
crossed.
do that and we're popping champagne bottles right away because now we're playing with the house's money, and
Yep.
if we now go for the division and let's go get a home playoff game. But if the Dolphins somehow figure out a way to beat the Raiders in Vegas, I mean, guys, we're talking about this nightmare scenario where we beat the Jets to win our 11th game, and then we have to beat the Steelers and the final boss in order to get into the playoffs and win 12. My gosh, like,
You know, I was thinking about this amongst other things, but there's days where I'll just sit around and I'll ponder, the playoffs and
oh, hold on a
the
second.
scenario.
Keep going with that thought. I'll be right back. I have something.
Okay. And that scenario or the other scenario. And I I'm about to say something, and don't get me wrong, it's not something that I would be happy about. I would be angry and disappointed just like everybody else would. But if if the teams that are supposed to lose, or I shouldn't say supposed to, but if the team like the Raiders, for example, they beat the Dolphins and we don't have to worry about it, that's great. If all the scenarios of the teams that have to lose to help us get in doesn't happen, and then it comes down to the Steelers in week 17 and we can't beat that team at home to advance, I'll be very disappointed. And just as you will be,
Yeah.
the fans will be. But at the end of the day, you really can't be mad because you can't beat the bad team twice in your division and then not split with the other teams in your division. Because what that says is if we don't make it, that will mean that we have been swept by the Steelers, swept by the Ravens, and only beat the Bengals twice.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
so we at that point, you only have yourself to blame, and you can't continue to lose games to the Ravens and the Steelers and expect that you're just going to coast and go on to the next thing. And we're seeing that. It's almost like the football gods are like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll let you get to 11 wins. And I'm not saying they're not going to get to 12, but I'm just hypothetical. But yeah, we'll let you get to 11, but yeah, you still haven't handled your own business in your own division. So enjoy that, chew on it, figure out how to beat or split with those teams next time.
Well, I think with the Ravens, and by the way, Mike, when you were mentioning that you were deep in thought, I broke out the new Brownie post game merch,
Oh,
the deep fall T-shirt
yes.
with the Brownie post game logo and autumn like attire. Because guys, we are in deep fall right now, deep fall relevant football for the Browns. It's funny if I think that I think that the Ravens kind of they were the beneficiaries of the right time to play the Browns with Denzel out that game, and I think that was the critical moment, the critical player there. We just had too many missteps with his replacement. It went from a guy who's like a 97 to a guy who's like a 70 or 60. I mean, it's a monumental drop off in talent that we had between Stewart and Denzel.
Oh yeah.
And that was apparent, and there were some critical moments that including that last touchdown that Lamar threw when he came back from going to the bathroom. That was I just don't see Denzel giving up that touchdown like that. So they were the beneficiary of the right place at the right time playing against us. I do think though that the good thing about that game is I think that we looked at them and we were like they can be beat. We can beat these guys. If we play a better game, we have the talent to match up with the Ravens. In years past, they had talent that was just overwhelmingly better than what we had. And especially on the defensive side of the ball, we just couldn't score points. Now, we do have the talent to beat them, and I think that the Steelers, we split with the Steelers last year. I think we beat the Steelers this year, and at home, and I think this is going to be a big one for us because we have the momentum going with it. Some of these games have been somewhat nail biters, including even the Giants game. There, I mean, there were some hit or miss moments, and some coaching decisions that could have gone the other way, and who knows what could have happened there. On paper, we're better. On paper, we're better than the Jets as well. We just have to be able to execute. But we have the momentum because we're piling up those wins. So if we can take care of the Jets and win our 11th game and have that big wave of energy, even the Ravens game, how close that game we went from getting our asses handed to us game one to making it a 55-yard touchdown to beat us. Or I'm sorry, field goal to beat us. That's just monumental growth that we've experienced.
Yeah.
So we are in a different position. I think we're in a different position now than we were when we played against the Steelers the first time in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Right? So this is I don't know. I mean, there's some new power rankings that came out that have us fifth and, all this different stuff. And I know that some of the computer models are saying that we are favored to win the AFC North now. But I look at it like this. If we get into the playoffs, depending upon what the matchup looks like in the playoffs, we might be looking at a little bit of a run. Couple things break our way, and who knows? Crazier things have happened. And if you would have told me that the Steelers, after winning 11 games, were going to self-destruct and allow us to sneak in and steal that division, I mean, I would have said you're crazy. Right? So stranger things have happened, guys. I'm just saying that. I'm saying there's a chance, right? Dad, how much did you put on the Browns to win the Super Bowl this year before the season? $100, $50?
This year?
Yeah.
0.
Oh, I thought you did. I thought you bet this year.
No, not this year. The year before.
I could have sworn you put on. You did it this year too.
Yeah.
Are you sure? You better do a double check on that.
No, I did. And I even had the sticker ticket from Vegas on my computer here the whole the year before or last year, and there was so much hype when Odell came. I got caught up in it too, and I had a friend in Vegas. He went and Mike Muhlenfeld, who's the big Titans fan, and we had as a guest a couple of weeks ago. He was in Vegas, and I said, Mike, put 100 on the Browns. And he said, okay. He said, yeah, but the odds are only 10-1. And I said, you're kidding, 10-1? Minimum, I thought they should have been, because they were coming off that horrible season before. And I said, that's not right. I said, knock it down to 50. I'm only going to take a shot at 50, which again, pissed it away. But that I sort of learned my lesson on that. You listen to the hype and everything, and with Stefanski as the new coach and all the things that were going on, I decided, not to make that same bet. But and as it turned out, the way the season started, I would have been kicking myself with that big loss to Baltimore right out of the box. But it's turned out well. So we are in it. We have a chance. Whereas in past years, we were just finishing out the season. We had nothing to root for.
Right. Hey, Mike, do you know? Have you heard anything about if we were to make a playoff game and a home game, how many fans they'd let in, or what do we? did they let any of the season ticket holders know any of that information?
No, I mean, I opted out and put all my money towards next year, but they just like last week, they didn't know or the Monday night game rather, that they didn't. And well, I guess Sunday too, but as far back as Monday against the Ravens, the DeWine had the curfew on, and they didn't know if they were even going to be able to have anybody. And then, he lifted it for the games, which I mean, it's picking and choosing at this point. But
Mm-hmm.
I I can't imagine. I mean, cases are skyrocketing now, and I can't imagine that it'll be any more than 12 grand still. But I mean, who knows? We'll see. We'll see. When we cross that bridge.
Would you consider? Would either of you guys consider buying a ticket to go to a playoff game if we have a home game?
For me, what's funny because I have uh, one of my friends. He has a ticket to the Steeler game, and he keeps trying to get me to go, and it's tempting, but I have very bad asthma, and the last thing that I can afford is, God forbid,
Yeah.
getting this thing. So
You think Adam
unfortunately,
would put us up on his couch?
Oh, I'm sure. Like Adam would absolutely. I think he. We have a cousin that lives in Cleveland, not too far away from the stadium. So yeah, I'm sure Adam would put us up.
That'd be great. Yeah.
It just comes down to how much those tickets. I mean, the Steeler game on the third doesn't interest me as much as
how much
playoff
those tickets
Steelers.
are going for, Mike?
The Steelers game,
Yeah, take a
um,
guess. Take a guess what they're at right now.
probably probably the cheapest tickets are probably somewhere in the $500 range.
So
Well, more than that.
the 300 section right now are selling for 1,500,
Ah,
and
Wow.
section 132, I think I saw was, and not to say anybody got that, but they're up for sale, and people will buy them. But I did see section 132 was about 2 grand, and almost made me think to myself, damn, why didn't I just opt in and just sell these things? But
So I'm
somebody,
looking. I'm looking on StubHub right now, and section 543, which is like the corner of the top. It looks like there's 360, 37, like 500 level are like. I mean, the nosebleeds are 380 each. That's what I'm seeing right now. Anything lower than that, so like let's just say like good seats, like section 133, 1100, two seats.
mm,
136, 1200, 137, 137, four tickets, row 23, 755.
now
That's
imagine what all those prices then will be come Sunday when the Colts beat the Steelers, we beat the Jets, and I don't want to say it, but the teams that we don't want to win.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that's going to happen,
The
but
nightmare scenario.
imagine if that occurred. I mean, those tickets would be through the roof.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you got such a big fan base there in Cleveland that's been kept out of the hype, except for what they see on TV.
Yep.
Now is their one chance to go to a game and be the highest bidder, I guess, on these tickets, whether it's on Craigslist or you know the StubHub or whatever. Um, People are crazy. They
I mean, it's
willing
historic.
to pay those prices. You'll find somebody.
I
It's
mean, what?
it is historic. You know.
Yeah, no, it is. And the crazy part of the whole damn thing is 2020. What a year! Uh, it's just been a giant nightmare. And to think, you guys will laugh, but I think it was last year after. No, you know what? It was this year. It was right after Stefanski got hired, and the COVID craze rather, I'm sorry, hadn't happened yet. and we were still out and about, and me and my wife were driving down the highway, and she was flipping through, her Apple iTunes, whatnot, and got the ACDC, and I was like, "Do me a favor." I'm like, "Put Hell's Bells on." So she put Hell's Bells on, and I'm like, "All right, pause it real quick." So she paused it. So I said, "Now, after I say what I'm going to say, then I want you to crank the shit out of this thing, and then picture we're in our seats in the dog pound." And my scenario was, imagine next year we get it right, meaning this year, go figure, or next season, and we are in our seats, AFC Championship. We just went up by 7. Baker drove them down the field. I don't know who he found, but he found somebody in the end zone. We go up by 7. There is a minute 10 left on the clock. We're about to kick off. All right, crank Hell's Bells right now. Everybody listening right now, just thinking about that, you start getting the chills, right? Because you're like, oh my God, like that would be amazing.
Mhm.
And the worst part is that there's a good chance, and I don't know about, time and scenario, but there's a good chance that that's going to happen this year. And because of such a wacky, shitty year, we're all not going to be able to experience that. I can't even imagine what it would be like, no, no COVID, hosting a AFC, or I'm sorry, a game for the division. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we're hosting a chance to win the AFC North Championship. The tailgating prior, and the loudness and the noise inside of that stadium. It's a shame, is what it is. It's a damn shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and looking at the playoffs here, let's just say the scenario rolls out that we make the playoffs and we win the division, and let's say in that scenario where we're 12-4 and have won the division, if the Bills go 12-4, yeah, if the Bills go 12-4, I'm sorry, I think if the Bills go 12-4, they actually might have us. They might have us in the tiebreaker. Because it looks like they have right now, they've got 11-3. They have the Steelers in the tiebreaker, so you assume they'd also have us because they're the 2 seed. But I don't know because we haven't played them, so I don't know. Maybe that's because it's head to head. But let's just say that we overtake the Bills and we have the 2nd seed in the playoffs, because the Bills have the Patriots, who can. I mean, they're not the worst team in the league. They're not the Bengals. We saw what the Bengals did to the Steelers, and then they got the Dolphins, who might be fighting for their life last game of the season. And now the situation is, are the Bills last game of the season going to be playing all their players in that scenario? Do they just go, look, we're good, we just don't want to get anybody hurt? I could see the Bills losing that game to the Dolphins if the Dolphins have everything in the world to play for, because the Dolphins right now they're the 7 seed, so they have to keep winning, right? Yeah. Because they have the tiebreaker over the Raiders. Over the Ravens. So they have the tiebreaker over the Ravens. So they have to keep winning to go. So they got to go 11-5 if they want to stay in.
Speaking of that Ravens game, that Giant defense is tough. It would not surprise me in the least if the Giants went into M&T Stadium and then upset the Ravens.
If Daniel Jones is playing,
yep,
I think they'd have a chance. And
I think he does go.
I don't think they win with Colt McCoy.
Yeah, I think it has to be Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I think he's playing from what I understand.
Just the big wild card.
Yeah.
I mean, out of all the teams I'm looking at in the playoffs, out of all of them, the Steelers, the Titans, the Colts, the Dolphins. Those are the teams that are currently in the hunt right now.
What's interesting?
We could beat any of those 4 teams. The Bills and the Chiefs are the 2 that I'm like, eh.
But what's funny too is going through like scenarios this year as opposed to any year prior, what's interesting is like you look at us, for example, very, very good chance we're getting into the playoffs, whether it be, as a 3 seed or, the first wild card. We don't know that. But the interesting thing that I find this year is the fact that only the number 1 seed gets that bye.
Right.
So for me, it's almost like just get in, and it doesn't matter because you got to beat everybody in front of you anyway. And it's not like we missed out on a bye and we would have been able to then get to the next round obviously easier because we didn't have to play. But I sort of like the way it's all set up now, where it's just the number 1 seed gets the bye, and everybody else it's showtime, and
You got to play
gotta go
football.
and you got to play football. Yeah,
Yeah. No, I like it too. I mean, I was so used to that 2 wild cards and 2 buys,
yeah,
but I think that the however they restructured the playoffs and the schedules to
hmm,
say we're gonna have 1 buy and then we're gonna add another playoff team, everybody's like, all right, they give us a better chance to get into the playoffs, right?
yeah,
And how many seasons like that 10-6 year, we would have made the playoffs if we would have been the third one. And if you're looking at the teams that are in or on the bubble, there are there are I would say 4 teams that people don't want to play. The
hmm,
Chiefs number 1, the Bills number 2, the Browns probably number 3 because of our offense, and number 4 the Ravens because the Ravens are so wildly different from everybody else that you have to prepare for that that is a scary team. But I mean, the crazy scenario is none of the teams I guess the only teams that play each other left are the Colts and Steelers and Bills and Dolphins. Everybody else is just take care of the teams that are in front of you. Um, so because we can beat the Titans, or we can beat the Colts. I believe we can beat the Steelers. The
Yeah.
Dolphins, I
yeah.
mean,
You even look at the Chiefs, though. I mean, what? And don't get me wrong, they're the cream of the crop. But you know, uh, which Chiefs team is going to show up? Is it going to be the one that the Raiders manhandled, or is it going to be the Chiefs that we've known to watch weekly, or where they string games together that even if they don't play up to par, maybe they smoke somebody the next game. They're like, they didn't look as exciting and dominant, but they still won by 2 scores. Or is it going to be like I said, a Raiders team that are the Chiefs going to show up that showed up for that Raiders game at home that the Raiders stomped them? So it's like I don't know. I guess it always goes back to that old adage of any given Sunday,
yep.
um, that you just get, and we go back to, and I mean, I always go back to it. I'm the guilty party. Well, I'll admit it, but you agree with me usually when I go back to this, Mike. But I go back to that Eagles team that won the Super Bowl. They were not impressive. They 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 got hot at the end. They didn't have their quarterback, but they
Yeah,
just got hot at the end.
they
Their
won it with a
defense,
backup quarterback.
yeah, and their
They
defense
made plays during the game. Yeah.
exactly, and their defense. There was, I mean, aside from the Fletcher Coxes and the Brandon Grahams of the world, I mean, they didn't have anybody that was just pure dominant on the defensive side of the ball. They just got hot, and if you look at our defense with Ronnie Harrison coming back, and I teased you guys at the beginning of a player that's on defense that has
Yeah.
really
Tell me,
really
tell me, tell me, tell me. I'm curious.
so you know what? This probably is a good time.
All right.
So you look at the way we've been playing. The defense has been bending and not breaking, and now we're gonna get some key guys back. Somebody was talking about it in the chat. The one thing that does worry me is Miles, and if he's going to get his win back
Right.
anytime soon, or this thing is going to be long lasting, through the playoffs. I just hope it goes away because I mean nobody should be going through what he's going through. athlete or non-athlete. But anyway, if you look at our defense, so you got Ronnie Harrison coming back, and I would imagine that he'll play a little bit. On Sunday. I don't think they're just going to throw him in there and say have at it. I think he'll be on a on a pitch snap count, if you will.
Right.
But they're going to get his his game legs back. But so you look at the defensive side of the ball. So you get Ronnie Harrison back, who prior to the injury, I mean, his PFF score is through the roof, ninth
Yep.
out of 89 safeties. We know that Denzel. We know what we get with him. Terrence Mitchell's been holding his own out there. So is Kevin Johnson. You look at the linebackers. B.J. Goodson has been very solid. Malcolm Smith, I mean, you can't say enough about him. 17 of 89. His coverage grade is through the roof. And you look at the defensive line. Ogunjobi has still been a little bit of a disappointment. But, I mean, you look at Sheldon Richardson and Ovi has come on. As we know, his scores, is rising by the week. Myles Garrett is Myles Garrett. But the guy that really has been playing exceptionally well, and we've seen his PFF score rise from the absolute ashes. So I'll ask you guys who you think that player is that I'm talking about.
Well, you eliminated a lot of players by your
yes.
scenario. How about Taki?
Ding, ding, ding.
That's
ding.
who I was going to say too.
Yes. So if Mike, help me out here, but if I remember correctly,
J-Rod says Sendejo.
if I what is where? Let me see. No, he's still hovering 85 or 89. But we know his poor guy. He wasn't supposed to start. But Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. Mac Wilson, who is still 86 to 89 linebackers. I mean, there is nothing good about his score, and we didn't even talk about it last week. But we did allude to a couple of plays where he was in the hole with the running back, and it was like maybe his shoe came untied or didn't want to get involved. But regardless, if you're a linebacker and your run defense score is 29.6, good chance that you're probably not going to get on the field and you're probably not going to dress. Anyway, he's at a 31.7. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Taki when we were discussing this weeks and weeks and weeks ago? He was in the same ballpark, wasn't he?
Oh yeah,
right.
And it was like very close to each other. And
right?
then
like 40 maybe at the top.
Yeah, like 40, 47, 48. I mean, it was like that. And we that's why we're talking about that. Well, the big hole on the defense is, well, yes, the secondary was very suspect for a while. But then you had Ronnie Harrison step up, you had Denzel come back. So you had we had some moments there, right?
Yeah.
And it was the linebackers that were that soft spot. And Malcolm Smith has performed admirably for his age and what he's
17.
Yeah, what he's able to provide for us there. And then Taki going from a guy who was blah to a guy who is now considered a real player. And I want to say hello to all those guys on Twitch. Bulldog, I still see you. Crouching Medium. Dan, what's going up? What's going on, man? How's it going, dude? Yeah, but I mean, Taki, and he made it. Taki's not only getting the PFF numbers, but he's passing the smell test on the field.
Are you ready for his grade?
Yeah, I'm ready for the number.
I had to interrupt you because your dad is bursting. He's ready.
He's dying. He's
like ready for it. Now, in the spirit of the season, before I tell you, I didn't break out the Victory Wednesday mug.
Okay.
But I broke out my moose.
The National Lampoon's Christmas Moose. Love it.
So, after a nice little sip of bourbon, Taki is your 13th ranked linebacker.
Wow.
With a 71.1 overall score and 87.5 run defense.
Say that again.
Which one?
Both.
71.1 overall and 87.5 in the run defense. And his pass rush grade is a 72.8. Now, when I was mentioning you guys earlier, his coverage grade is still subpar, but it's up to a 47.8. And when we first started having these discussions, that number was down in like the 30 range. So he has upped his game everywhere. And that 87.5 in the run defense, I mean, we're seeing it. The past 3 weeks, we see that
You,
87.5.
you know what it
And
is?
just,
After that pick six, when he took that to the house,
yeah, confidence.
he just said, "I can play in this league. I
Yeah.
I get it now. I had my moment." And because he was the guy who was drafted. He was drafted, I believe, in the third round. So he was drafted ahead of Mac Wilson. They came in
Yeah.
that same
He
year.
was hot. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
happy when they got him drafted. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was an aggressive, linebacker, but I think what Dorsey was doing with that draft was going after some speedy, athletic linebackers who could hopefully track down speedy, athletic quarterbacks. That's what it appeared to be. And Taki in college, if you watch him play, was hyper aggressive when it came to tackling, when it came to stopping the run. So he's like, okay, we get this guy. This is what it gives us. But Mike, I'm not shocked at the number that he's getting now. What I'm shocked and just pleasantly surprised with is his improvement. And he is a different player. And you can almost look at early in the season what our defense was doing, how we were giving up 30 plus points a game, to now giving up in games, 20 or less, and in a couple of these games under 10 points. And you can attribute that to some of these guys who are giving us, better than advertised type execution and performance. So, kudos to Taki for that.
Yeah.
Well, now I can say adieu now that Mike has shared that information that I wanted to hear and find out who that player was. And I would never have guessed it had he not gone through the litany of all the other players. So I think it's not being the right guy yet. So who's left? And the only guy I could think of was Taki. So it was a guess on my part. But I got to go. I apologize. I have to go. And I'll let you guys take over from here. And go Browns. And Mike, I will see you on Christmas Day.
Yep. Well, my dad will be here. We'll be watching the Jets game together Sunday afternoon and flipping back. And maybe I'll figure out a way to bring in. I'll bring in the other TV, so we'll have two TVs in the room, so we can watch the Steeler game and the Jets game at the same time, so we can go crazy with that. So, all right, Dad, thanks for joining.
Okay, Michael, have a Merry Christmas. All right.
You do the same, and I will see you. I'll see you soon.
All right. Take care, guys.
See you, Dad.
See ya.
Bye. Yeah, God. I mean, geez, guys. So let's. I did want to touch on, and I know it's a little bit of a sensitive topic because there's a lot of stuff happening right now, and even the press is picking up on it, and players are being asked about it. Is the Mac Wilson tilting a little bit on Twitter, and not going after people, but just seems like there's some maturity issues going on there. But because Malcolm Smith was asked about it today, I think MKC asked him about it, about like what he's saying to to Mac Wilson to try to cheer him up or whatever. And it was like, yeah, I'm trying to relate to him, like when that's happened to me in the past, and keep your spirits up. But, I think he just lost, one of his coaches had passed away, previous coaches. And now he's not only got benched, but he's not dressing for games, which I find that to be really unfortunate, because although he hasn't played as well as we expected him to play this year, or we had hoped, he still is a young guy with a lot of potential, a lot of athletic ability, and he's got a lot of, at this stage, a year and a half of professional football reps, first team reps in practice and on the field. So he's got some experience, and those are guys that we don't have that many guys that have that. So even if he is, a 30 or something like that, or in the back half, having him dressing in the event that, let's say, Taki Taki goes down. Let's just say that, right? Malcolm Smith goes down. BJ Goodson goes down. Then what? Now you're throwing in a guy who's got no reps or very little. Whereas, I just don't want to get to that stage where we're forced into really stretching the into the depth of our depth chart when we have a healthy and just we got a healthy young guy who could just sit there and watch
Yeah.
and while eating some humble pie and if we need him he's there and who knows, let's say maybe this little timeout break that he's gotten might get him to think and maybe readdress some of his priorities or figure out what the issue was. And let's say that he turns that into like a lot of positive energy and he gives us a Taki against the Eagles type game. He had some his rookie year last year. He had some flashes in the preseason, intercepting the ball, taking it to the house, where it was like, dude, this guy is going to be a monster, and he was a scary dude. But then in the regular season, we just didn't see it happen. But I really hope that we can get him on the field, or maybe not on the field, but at least dressing for depth, right? And then if that situation comes out where he can redeem himself in a backup role, then go ahead and do that, right? That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, no, and not to interrupt you, but what I find wild too is that usually you take someone like Mac Wilson, for example, who's been a starter. Usually, if someone like that takes the back seat and now they're more for, spelling guys, those guys usually dress and they are put on special teams. So for Mac Wilson to not even dress, that they don't even think that this kid is capable of making tackles on a kickoff squad. I mean, that's kind of telling. Now, I'm interested to see what the story will be this week. I have a feeling by the looks of his Twitter account, and I know I hate when we do this, but he went from a very rah Brown stuff all over his Twitter feed to stripping it all off. And I saw a post earlier in the day where he said something like irrelevant in all caps, ... And I think that he's playing the look through Twitter, look at people ragging on me, oh, woe is me, instead of like focusing on what you need to do, which is when there's a running back in the hole, at least touch him. So
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the one thing that concerns me, about Mac is what that he's going out looking for it. These aren't people that
absolutely,
a lot of it people aren't at mentioning him. They're just being critical of him in regular whispers in the wind type of Twitter.
yep.
And
I like that, Mike.
if we're talking about somebody like, McNeil with 220,000 followers or whatever McNeil has,
Yep.
bashing him. Although I wouldn't see Chris doing that. I would see him like making a meme about it and like,
Right.
making it kind of like a funny about it. But he's looking for people with, less than 1,000 followers who are just talking about the team that they love, like a random fan.
Right.
You know,
And
that
I
to
don't.
me is just odd. It's like
No, I agree. And
you,
I don't think
you
the
don't have anything
players.
better to do with your time,
No,
Mac.
I agree. I agree. And I think some players get it, some don't. Obviously, he falls in the don't get. But a lot of these guys like don't realize that, you know, we root for the city and we root for the team, which is the Cleveland Browns. One day you go away. And unless you left a huge mark on this team, i.e., Jim Brown, Otto Graham, uh, Clay Matthews, Bernie, Joe Thomas, etc., we really don't care too much about you, or remember, if you will. I mean, and I'm making it a little bit harsher than it is, but
Maybe the average fan. I think you and I probably could rattle off quite a few
yeah,
rosters of players, but yeah, I get what
but
you're saying.
like we don't, like, don't worry about us, dude. Like, the Browns are our team. You worry about actually your livelihood and making money, because I mean, your time in the NFL goes really quick unless you are, a top level, top tier kind of guy. So, the long
Yeah,
story short, the Mac Wilsons of the world, the last thing you should be doing is worrying about what Joe Schmo and Mike and Mike might be saying about you on Twitter.
Mac.
Go figure out how to make a stop in the hole. Go figure how to cover a receiver. Go earn a paycheck, dude.
Yeah,
Go get yours. Don't worry about the
he
fans.
was a fifth round pick who signed a 4-year deal with the Browns, including a signing bonus of $308,000.
Yeah.
So he signed a 4-year deal for 2.8 million. Now, after agent, taxes,
Yeah.
and a slew of other things that you're paying for with that money, that's it sounds like a lot of money. It sounds like $2.8 million. It sounds like a lot. But if you think of the average person in a job, like you and I are working from the time we're probably 22, not making a lot, all the way till we're 65 plus, these guys have a short window of
Yeah.
where they can make a lot of money. And some of them go into coaching, some of them go into other sorts of player development, some of them go back to college and do some stuff with coaching in college, that kind of thing. I mean, but I I I don't know. I don't know if Mac is quite yet into the position of fifth round pick rookie contract. I know he did get a bonus last year for outperforming his rookie contract, but I mean, we're talking about, $2.8 million is like really good software sales guy money.
Yeah.
Like the top sales guy in your company money. It's not, and it is changing. It's wealth. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but but if you're 21 years old and you got the rest of your life to look at, I mean, Max should be focused on his next contract.
Yeah.
That you play 4 consistent years where you're showing improvement, and you're. I mean, he would only be like 23 years old.
Yeah. The 31.7, 86 out of 89 linebacker, PFF wise. And I
It's
know
not good.
PFF is just one thing, but I mean, it's a big thing. You're not. You may not see another contract.
Yeah. Or I mean, you, those are the guys that are expendable when you're in a window,
Yeah.
right? When you're in a window where you can win. And this goes for a lot of things. It's not just football. I saw it, unfortunately, with my company during COVID, where a lot of people, had layoffs and furloughs and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is for everybody. I'm just saying my personal experience. When you're getting ready to IPO, and you're doing all this stuff to get ready, they're gonna look to trim down, and they're gonna look to trim down where they can. And if you're productive and and ramped and experienced, and the top of your game, you're not letting those guys go. You're not letting Taki go right now,
No. And
right?
yeah, and someone like Jacob Phillips, who, the book's still out. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, he has a very low PFF grade too, but we'll let him get some reps and some game time. They drafted him, relatively early, so they believe that he could be a difference maker. But point being is you look at a roster, and if you've got to trim the fat on on a linebacker position, Jacob Phillips isn't the guy that was drafted by the current administration, who was high on their list. They're going to eliminate a Mac Wilson or a Tay
a,
Davis.
a
So,
fifth round pick
right.
who in his second year is one of the lowest rated linebackers in the league, who is not going to give you a salary cap hit,
Right.
right? Like that's the tragedy that we're seeing right now with Mac. And that's, I think the big thing, and I'm looking at chat as well, and a lot of people are saying this. J Rod said this over on Twitch. He needs to mature. And, if when I'm 21 years old, you hand me, $2.8 million, let's say after taxes, $1 million, or you hand me a signing bonus of $400,000 when I'm 21 years old, thinking I just got drafted in the league, I made the roster, I'm a starting linebacker on a team. People make weird decisions, and I'm very surprised looking at what Mac did in the offseason, how dedicated he looked like he was doing in the gym, in the weight room. But you know what? Here's another thing, and I put this down in the show notes as a topic to discuss. You look at what happened with Dwayne Haskins, right? You look at Dwayne Haskins, who's got a team that is currently sitting in a playoff position, and they could host a playoff game.
Yeah, leading the division.
They could go 8-8, or even 7-9 for God's sake. Just like the Seahawks did a couple years ago, when they were 7-9, and Pete Carroll's, I think, his first year, 7-9, and the Saints, who were like 11-5 or 10-6, something like that, they had to go to the 7-9 Seahawks, a very difficult place to play, and lost in the playoffs because the stupid 7-9 team, because of the way it shakes out, has a home game. The football team's going to have the same thing. Then you got Dwayne Haskins, who's sitting there, right, in a position to get his job back, and he goes out to a strip club, and he allows himself to be photographed without wearing a mask. I mean, the decision some of these guys make is just, I don't know. I just look at it and I was like, I wish some of these guys had a little bit better guidance, because they're sitting there holding a lottery ticket. A lottery ticket that could open a lot of doors for you, or could slam a lot of doors in your face.
Yeah.
And it's like a blessing and a curse at the same time, right? But if this is what you're put on the planet to do, and you're one of the several hundred guys each year that get an opportunity to play in the league and get paid a lot of money, to not look at that and say, I'm going to dedicate every ounce of my essence to doing this until I can't do, at least until you establish yourself as like a legit player, then maybe get a little bit loose. Same criticism that we were seeing of Baker last year. In his offseason, going to Indians games, slamming beers, getting a little out of shape, doing a lot of TV commercials, same criticism. It's like, where is your focus? I mean, Baker's a little different. Baker got something like $22 million signing bonus when he came into the league. It's just wild what some of these guys do. Not to switch gears, but my wife watches a lot of reality TV, and watched that show with Jay Cutler was in it with his wife, Kristen.
Oh, the one that divorced him.
Yes, he divorced her.
What's her name? Kristen.
It's like an Italian name.
Yeah.
Chat. Keep me honest with what Jay Cutler's wife's name was, but
Cavaletti or Cavetti?
Cavallari.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so he's on that show, and not to talk about the reality show, but that's what my wife knows Jay Cutler from. Like, right. She's like, oh yeah, she's Jay Cutler. Do you remember him? I'm like, yeah, of course I remember Jay Cutler.
I remember him.
I was like, played at Vanderbilt, big arm, kind of interesting throwing motion. Gets paid. So he came out. I think he came out during the time period where they didn't have the rookie salary cap. So he came out during that. So he got paid a boatload of money coming out of college, and then he got a second contract to go play in Chicago, and then the Dolphins, in their infinite wisdom, paid him a boatload of money to play for like one season. Yep. So he's sitting there on just a mountain of cash. And another guy who is another, I guess you could say, somewhat average career, Carson Palmer. And when he left Cincinnati and was like, I'm going to go play in Oakland, he said he had like $53 million in the bank.
Yeah.
Okay. So these guys, when you get to that stage, you could do whatever the hell you want. And the reason I was bringing up Jay Cutler is, I think all he wanted to do is, live in Nashville on a big multi-acre place and have, deer cameras up and just watch deer
Right.
cameras all day. That's all he wanted to do. And bless his heart, he can do that when you
You
have
know
that
what?
kind of money. But Mac Wilson, you don't have Jay Cutler money yet.
No.
You've got, he got a little taste, just a little taste of what that could be. But the lottery ticket for a fifth round guy doesn't come until your second contract. He signed a 4-year deal. He's got to make it 4 years. And I think that would be the scary thing, because what Nick Saban said when he was coming out was he's not ready to come out, and was very disappointed in Mac Wilson for coming out when he did. He thought he needed another year. He might have been
You
right.
totally random and off the football thing, but you were talking about Jay Cutler and his and having a land down in Nashville and having the deer cameras and stuff.
Hmm.
I got to tell you, I don't know if you've ever done this or anybody in the chat's ever done this, but one night I went down a rabbit hole and I found this video. I just stumbled across it, and it's what led me down the rabbit hole. But it was things that deer cameras catch, like in the wee hours of the night. I got to tell you,
It's fascinating.
if it wasn't doctored, there is some wild, crazy shit out there. Like I literally, I was like surfing Twitter and Facebook, and I was just about to go to bed, and then I stumbled across that thing, and then I watched this whole video, and then I was like, wait a second, there's got to be more. And
Right.
then I was laying in bed, propped up on the pillow, my wife's sleeping, and I'm just I was blown away. But I had to throw that out there because you sparked my memory.
Yeah.
And if you've never done that, go check it out, because I mean there was this one that looked like a demon, and I mean it was
Mm.
the guy. He was 100% adamant that he did not doctor this or whatever. It was some wild shit.
Yeah. It's every once in a while on Reddit, it'll come up on my feed like some wild deer camera footage of like just a in the middle of the night, like a
Yeah,
massive animal attack. Where animals just shredding each other. There's a subreddit called Nature is Metal, which is like all this crazy nature stuff. Like lions and stuff, eating each other and doing all this crazy stuff. It's wild to see, but I mean, that's what Jay Cutler likes to do. Bless his heart. He's from Tennessee. It's kind of unfortunate that he never got to play for the Titans, because I think that would have been like his dream, to just be in Nashville, play for Nashville, go home, look at his hunting cameras, and just live like the Beverly Hillbillies, but in Nashville. Which is a beautiful place. You've been in Nashville? I would assume, being a musician, you've probably spent some
yeah,
time in Nashville.
yeah. I toured through there. Max
Yeah.
Nikolenko, you are accurate. Demons and aliens is what those damn cameras pick up.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. So I have the Arlo cameras
Yeah,
around my house, and my neighborhood, we're not gated. It's Florida, and we're not gated, which is like a kind of strange thing actually in
yeah,
Florida. And um we have the Ring doorbell, and we've got the Arlo cameras around the
yeah.
house. And a neighbor of mine's got this crazy like 9 camera high def system,
Right,
and I was like, man, I was like, the Arlo thing is cool, but I want to have like full surveillance
right.
that gets me license plate numbers that are driving by. I want to see like everything going on, because you never know when you need that kind of stuff.
No, it's crazy.
You
I'm
know?
like you. Like I have the I originally had like my cameras through the alarm company, and then I went on a Ring tangent. So like I've got there's cameras in the house, outside the house, all Ring stuff. But one of my neighbors, they have one of those high tech systems like you're talking about,
Mhm.
and this thing is so high powered, these cameras, that there could be a car parked in the street and they could zoom in and tell you what type of air pressure like the tire takes. I mean, that is just
Oh,
that's intense.
yeah, no, that's wild stuff. That's the there's always like one or two people in the neighborhood that when something goes down, you reach out like, did your cameras pick up anything?
Right.
You know?
And if it's the detail, like you go right to that guy.
Absolutely. And so now there's a lot of construction going on in my neighborhood. There's a road that's being kind of like dug through it to
Yeah.
go into a new neighborhood that's getting built. And I'm like, I need to put up those. I need to put up some deer cameras. You know, put up. We got a couple palm trees in front of my house. Put a
Yeah.
couple deer cameras on the palm trees. You know, so people don't see them. But
And then who knows what kind of weird
just
demon you might
shenanigans go
see
on there.
at 3:15 in the morning. Hey,
Absolutely.
you see David got his mug.
Oh yeah, yeah. He sent me a message
Yeah.
on Twitter. He got his mug. Congratulations, awesome, David.
I bet you he is the
Um,
only one in Australia with that mug.
he may be, and that was you know, that was I could have bought like three mugs
Three mugs.
and sent them out to people here in the U.S. for the price of shipping to Australia. But David, I'm happy that you got it. And I was like, we got to send it to that guy. That guy is a passionate fan, and
Uh,
like there are some worldwide Browns fans. You know, I was just I was just at this like we took a look at mini holiday last night. So we drove out to this kind of rural area, about a half hour, 45 minutes outside of Tampa, like northeast of Tampa.
yeah,
Um, and they have like a snow, like a winter snow
I saw that.
area with this big downhill kind of like snow tubing ramp and an indoor this big igloo that they make cold and all this kind of stuff, and then they s'mores and just like Florida winter, right? So we
Yeah,
have to pretend. And so we go into the hotel, and I'm wearing this hat, and I was wearing my Browns parka jacket that my dad had bought for me years ago.
oh, you
And
got to wear it.
yeah, I got to wear it, right? Because we're going snow tubing, and it was legitimately cold.
Right.
So I was wearing that, and I go into the hotel, and the guy in front of me in line is like, "Hey, you Browns fan, obviously?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm a Browns fan." I was like, he asked me if I was from Cleveland. I said, "No, I'm from Pennsylvania, but just grew up a Browns fan. My dad's a Browns fan. We're not from Cleveland, but we just we're big into it, and obviously like love the city and everything. He's never lived there." And I asked him where he's from. He said he lives in outside of Pittsburgh, but he's not
Yeah.
a Steeler fan. He's like, well, I'm originally from New York, so I kind of like the New York teams, the Mets and the Jets. But it's just interesting that anywhere you go, like my dad was mentioning, like he goes to the hospital to do his physical therapy, and some guy sees him wearing the Brown stuff. He's got to point it out. You know how many people walk around at any given moment with like the emblem or logo of a sports team,
Yeah.
and probably don't ever hear a single comment. And then you wear Brown stuff.
Yep.
The guy who owned the cycling place that I used to go to, this like the cycle bar type place called Ruckus here in Orlando. I used to always wear that Browns, game day jacket, the sateen jacket that I was
Yeah.
showing the other day. And he loves, oh, it's Browns going to do so good. And he's a Chiefs fan. And so when he got into the playoffs, he was all nervous. He's like, God, I just don't want to lose it. I'm so nervous about it. I was like, dude, if I was you, I'd be sitting there like happy as a clam,
Right. Yeah.
because you're sitting there with the best team and the best coach and the best players. And for the Super Bowl, I said, I went in that day of the Super Bowl. I was like, hey, man, just letting you know, get ready to party because you guys are winning this game. He's like, oh, I really hope we're going to win the game. And I'm like, you're going to win. Now, if the Browns made it to the Super Bowl this year with some miracle, I'd be
Forget about it.
I'd be crapping my pants because we just have so many holes that could just by a good team. You look at the teams that let's say we get past the final boss is the Chiefs. They won it last year. They got the best players. We have to get past the final boss of the Chiefs to then go on to another. Like it's like did you ever play the game Contra for the Super Nintendo? Where you
Yeah, I
kill
remember
the
that
final
game.
boss, the brain thing, and then you're like, oh, the game's over. But no, you got to keep going on. There's another boss after that you got to kill to
Yeah.
really end the game. And then we'd be looking at like the Saints or the Packers or the Rams or the Seahawks. and just very well established, well coached, a lot of experienced players on those teams. I mean, any of those four teams I just rattled off, they all have, at minimum, all their best players have at least Super Bowl experience, if not Super Bowl rings.
Yep.
And we have Malcolm Smith.
Yeah, he's an MVP though. He's an MVP.
I mean, it's a good one to have.
It is a good
but
one.
we have Malcolm Smith. So it would be, I dare I say, if we were to win the Super Bowl this year,
Oof.
if we were, they would make a movie about us this year.
Yeah.
There would be some sort of movie that was made.
Have to be.
And it would be like a Disney Plus, like not a theatrical release.
Today, after The Mandalorian, the Cleveland Browns, how they overcame COVID and the NFL football season.
New coach wins Coach of the Year. Nick Chubb injures his leg and still goes on to make the Pro Bowl and do great things. Draft day 2, says Bulldog. Speaking of which, did you see that only Miles, Nick, and Betonia made the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, there were a lot of snubs.
Teller was. I mean, if Teller would have played, he would have made it.
Yeah, I think that you could make the excuse for Teller because he missed a few games, but I mean the rest of the offensive line is like they're ranked like 1 through 8. I mean, I should say minus Jed, and Jed's played well. Don't get me wrong, but
very respectable.
I don't think he's had a Pro Bowl year, but I mean, Treader. I mean, Treader's had an exceptional year. The guy doesn't miss any snaps.
Yeah.
I mean, he should have made it. I mean,
I think offensive line fan voting is like, it's tough.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if you saw, Mike, but Mekhi Becton, the rookie offensive tackle for the Jets,
mm-hmm.
that was selected
right before. Was he right before Jedrick or right after?
I think he might have been like 10 or 11 maybe.
So before. Let's look at
something like where he was right after Jed. What pick was Jed? We were trying to remember what pick we were. Isn't it funny we're not even talking about the draft? We don't even know anything about last year's draft. I mean, this is like a new development.
Yeah, it's literally wild. I'm looking at it right now.
If this team sucked this year, you and I, we wouldn't.
We took Jedrick 10th, and Mekhi Becton went 11th, so he went right after. I knew it was really close.
Yeah, so he was leading the Pro Bowl voting at left tackle. He didn't even make it. So it's bizarre how that works. Like, I mean, and literally, like, they said he was leading like 2 days prior to the actual list coming out. So I don't know, what kind of voodoo happened there in that short amount of time, but he didn't make it.
Well, I was really impressed by Andrew Thomas, the left tackle for the Giants, really keeping Miles in check.
Yeah, they said he was. I guess. I mean, thinking back to last year, Andrew Thomas was the ready now, and Jed and Becton were Jed more so was the sky's the limit guy with some work, and then Becton was right there along with him. But Andrew Thomas, was the guy he was the basic plug and play.
You can't go wrong with him, and I think that's why the Giants took him.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that Jed, the only knock that I remember hearing about Jed was that he played right tackle.
Yeah,
and he played right tackle because Tua is left-handed.
Yeah.
So he protected the blind side there, but his footwork was so good that he could transition easily. The only issue I've had with Jed this year is the penalties. That's it. It's the false starts.
Yeah, and it's just a couple here and there, but at the most inopportune times.
Yeah, and here's the thing about it, though. which is the concerning part,
I
is
know where you're
that
going.
there's no crowd noise this year.
Yes, I knew you were going there.
So imagine when there is crowd noise, he's going to have to anticipate that snap, and I will give him credit though. Okay, so Jed, if you're listening, and I know Jed and I have very similar friends, so the seven, the seven
Oh,
stages of Kevin Bacon. I'm one away from Jed, and a good friend of his.
as you
I'm
know, if anybody knows about those seven, it's me.
Yeah, you're right. I remember you telling me the story. The thing I would say that I would give Jed credit, and I don't blame him for this,
Hmm.
is that Baker has his he has he first after that Steelers game where they were on him and they were able to jump right through the line,
Yeah,
he changed his cadence up so well that it has not only resulted in multiple free plays or offsides encroachment type penalties, but it also is tripping up, I think, the younger players in the offensive line as well. So that's where I would give Jed the benefit of the doubt. Baker is doing something different with his cadence because you don't. He's so successful pulling those
yeah, it
guys
really
off,
is. I agree.
including on like the fourth down, like the 4th and 5, 4th and 4, where he is able to do that and pull them offline and get a first down. That is just gifting.
Yeah,
Going from a turnover or a field goal try to a free set of downs. It's just it really goes to show. I look at Baker Mayfield, and you and I have talked about this offline mostly, but we've talked about this quite a bit about Baker having to show up this year and doing what he had to do. And I gotta tell you, I have been, and even the national media and the local media, everybody who's been critical has they've had to keep quiet. But I am saying that I've always been a Baker Mayfield fan. I've always been a big guy. I've always been in his corner and been I can say I'm a Baker stan. I've always defended him, and I just wanted him to be the guy so bad. And it's so great to see it
yeah,
for the
come to
first time
fruition.
in my adult life, having a guy that is not only talking the talk but walking the walk and backing it up. And if nothing else, guys, if nothing else happens this year, I will still look back and go, this is one hell of an entertaining football season.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Baker Mayfield for a lot of that. I mean, I just went back to make that Christmas video for Bear Kincaid, the guy who does
Yep.
our song. And I'm making another video for him right now, and I'm going back through the highlights and all the touchdowns and stuff. Man, there have been some of them that I forgot about. I'm like, how did we score on this play? And watching Baker go down and score the touchdowns, and I was like, wow, I forgot about that one,
Yeah,
and that was good. It's easy for us to dwell on the deflected passes or you know the the, the penalties that he's getting. Um, it's easy to focus on those sorts of things.
yeah.
But man, has he stepped up and really been the guy. And I think we have a special quarterback, guys. I really, really do.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So, what's your plans for this weekend? What are you looking to do for the game? Same as usual, or do you have any special plans for this?
No, probably same as usual. It's gonna be a little bit more not as on edge because I'll be able to just get up, eat breakfast, work out, Bloody Mary, game. That's like our ritual. We always have to have a Bloody Mary before the game, and
I like that.
that's what we do. And when we're in for the games. But
Spicy Bloody Mary? Like what are
yeah,
we
oh yeah,
talking here? What are we
no,
what
yeah,
are we
yeah.
olives or no?
Olives. We got the olives, the celery. Sometimes we'll get crazy. Like we so
I'm making my mouth
being
water right now. Like I want to drink a Bloody Mary. I love Bloody Mary.
well being the uber Italian that I am. Tomorrow night is one of the greatest eating nights that an Italian can have because tomorrow is the night of the seven fishes. So we've got shrimp 96 different ways, lobster tail, crab, bacala. The list goes on and on. So where I'm going with that is we're going to have plenty of shrimp left over that that the shrimp, and we actually have some bacon wrapped shrimp as well, but the shrimp is going to make the Bloody Mary this week. So not only will it be olives and blue cheese, I stuff them myself. So it'll be the blue cheese olives and the celery.
Okay.
And
I'm
now
assuming there's no mix involved. We're not talking about like Mrs. T's or any of that
it
stuff.
it depends. One of the best uh, recipes that I've found is Bar Louie's in Cleveland.
I know Bar Louie. I don't know about it in Cleveland, but I do. We have Bar Louie down here in Nashville. There's one. There's a bunch of them. Yeah.
A bunch of. So what they do, and it makes it so smooth, and we don't do it all the time, but sometimes we do. They'll add a Guinness to the Bloody Mary,
Whoa.
and it is good. So you got that spice, but then that Guinness like calms it down a little bit, and it just makes it like
It's like a
uber
milky
smooth. Yeah, oh yeah. So it's
Guinness. I've never heard of that.
yeah, you'll have to try it. I'm telling you, it's pretty damn good. But yeah, so I mean that'll be the ritual, and then we get right into the game. Like these past two games has just been killing me because
Yeah,
I get so
the late
nervous.
games. Yeah.
I don't even watch the games. I just keep myself busy during the day
Yeah. I've done the same thing.
until it's time. That's when you know you're a lunatic and you're so invested in this team when you're nervous.
Yeah, I'm exact same way. The late games. Well, I guess the Monday night game is whatever, but the Sunday night game, I don't think I watched football that day. I was like, it just feels different.
Yeah.
And I think I just made videos or played video games or did something because I was like, I got to take my mind off of this. Because, I mean, I'll tell you, I think about the Browns. The last thing that's in my mind when I go to sleep, and the first thing that enters my mind when I wake up in the morning, it's like I wake up in the morning and I check to see if any crazy something happened overnight or first thing in the morning. You and my dad are typically texting me early on, be like, "Did you see this?" So it's like, and then I'm jumping on Twitter to see if I missed anything there, if anybody is, reaching out to me on Twitter. So I mean, I am just deeply in the rhythm of the Browns all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good to just take a breather. I'm glad that we took care of business against the Giants, and I know that this game against the against the Jets is important, but it's the Jets.
Yeah.
Imagine if we would have had the Ravens and Steelers the last two games of the season.
Yeah.
I don't think I wouldn't sleep all week. I would just be losing my damn mind.
And we go back and we could go back and listen to it, but we both did, and I know I really did. I harped on that Raiders game, how important that game was. And sure enough, I mean, we take care of business that game, and it's irrelevant what goes on
Yeah.
This week. Next week there would be a good chance we'd be playing for the division, regardless,
Well, it's funny
and already
because
be in.
if we go back to the beginning of the season and you think back to the games that we had to win, we won. I think the first one that opened people's eyes was the Cowboy game.
Yeah.
When all the Cleveland.comers, said we're going to lose.
Yep.
We won that game in a pretty exciting and just epic fashion how we won that game.
Yeah.
Then the next week, and then they're like, well, they're 3-1, but they haven't beaten anybody. Nobody's good, right? Which, to a degree, they probably had a point because none of those teams at that point, the Bengals, the Reds, the football team, or the Cowboys had a notable win under their belt and weren't really that great a team. Then we beat the Colts, and then they poo-poo us on beating the Colts because, well, they're just the Colts, and they're not as good as we thought, even though everybody at that point was saying that they're the best defense in the league, right? So then you got the Colts. So then we're 4-1. We're on to the Steelers, and the Steelers shellac us, which gives the national media and all the doubters and haters, all the ammunition to go right back. This team isn't real. You can only beat bad teams. We come back, take care of business against the Bengals. Close game, doesn't take the narrative off that much because it was a close game. Another, onside kick to seal it, that kind of game against the lowly Bengals. But the Joe Burrow Bengals twice, right? So keep that in mind. Then we lose to the Raiders in that rainy, awful, slush, gross game. And if you really look back on that game, it really just came down to the fourth quarter. They beat us in the fourth quarter and got a couple good calls, and ended up winning that game. So they had it, and that was the dropped pass game.
Yep.
We just Kareem Hunt, Harrison Bryant, Jarvis. We just dropping passes. And the first game without Odell. Right, that was the first one that we're like, okay, and then everybody said, well, they can't win without Odell, and blah blah blah. Then we got to that after the bye, right? We had the Texans, Eagles, Jags, and Titans, and I said, this is going to be the determining factor if we make the playoffs or if we do not make the playoffs. It was slightly soft between the Texans, Eagles, and Jags, so that soft spot. And we had to take care of business in those games. And for every one of those games, look back at the scores. The Texans game, we won 10-7. The Eagles, 22-17. The Jags, 27-25. We survived those games, right? We took the victory. We took the win. But we survived those games and then got the Titans. And when that game came and they said, okay, well, the Browns aren't going to beat the Titans in Nashville. No way. And we basically beat them by the end of the second quarter.
Yeah.
Right. It was over at the end of the second quarter. We just had to, survive the rest of the game in prevent mode. And, it is what it is. Then you had the Ravens game, which is very close. 47-42, or all intents and purposes, 45-42. And then now that wasn't really a test. That was it was almost like a barometer. Like where are we now? Are we the 38-6 Browns Ravens, or are we the 45-42 Browns Ravens? We allowed the Ravens to put up 75 points against us this year, which is insanity. We do not. I agree. Somebody was saying in chat, you guys can't beat Lamar. You guys can't beat the Steelers. To a degree, I would say we do not have a solution yet for Lamar Jackson. So that is what that is. But then now the next soft spot, Giants and Jets. I think we took care of the Giants, no problem. And we're going to take care of the Jets on Sunday. I don't think we're overlooking the Jets. I do think that there might be some people going, all right, let's just get past this one and then on to the much more important game, the Steelers. But I don't think Stefanski's going to let us do that. I think we're going to be looking at it at a tight game.
Yep, I agree.
But yeah, anyway, I know I kind of went on a tear just recapping the entire season there for us. But my point is, Kevin Stefanski has taken this team through those periods, those tests, to say, what are we? What kind of team are we? And I think we've passed the test to just about as good as we possibly could have this year. Being 10-4 with a chance to be 12-4, this is rare times.
Yeah.
But back to your point, that Raiders game does, at this point, the only good thing that came out of that is they're 7-7. So that can't come back to bite us in terms of a tiebreaker. Yep. But still not. You're right. That's one of those games that we should have been able to take care of.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, man, I keep thinking about that Bloody Mary.
I'm telling you, you gotta make one.
Well, I've already stolen your post-game celebration, your mug. So I don't know if I can steal your pre-game.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. The more Bloody Marys, the merrier. We win by more touchdowns.
What type of alcohol?
Tito's.
Tito's. Okay. Yeah. Tito's is good. It's good.
Nice and
It's
smooth.
it's good American
Yeah.
vodka.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Texas.
Yeah. It's they sell it like crazy there in Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. Actually, when I go to the liquor store here, I don't go that often, but when I do, and I usually, if I'm going to buy vodka, I buy Tito's,
Yeah.
and they always scoff at me. They're like, we have better vodka that's cheaper that I can sell you, and I was like,
Nope.
I don't. I like. It's fine. It's fine by me.
Yeah. I love
Like,
Tito's.
yeah, I'm okay with this.
All right. So I'm gonna need a Bloody Mary picture from you on Sunday.
Well, I can tell you, man, this is gonna be, this is gonna be an interesting one because we've got Christmas Eve tomorrow,
Yep.
Christmas Day, then we've got Saturday football,
Yep.
right? And my dad will be here, so we're gonna
Nice.
watch that Raiders game, and then we've got the Browns game on Sunday. And I do go back to work on Monday, but it's gonna
Yeah.
be very light because there's no businesses really,
Yeah.
nothing, not a whole lot going on.
I'm going back Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be sitting there, and then we've got a short week because of New Year's,
New Year's. Yeah.
so it's gonna be a weird one. But I'll probably drink some alcohol. If I could go out there, but I might.
And
I
you
don't know
don't
if I
have to
go the
get-
Guinness route.
no, you don't have to, and you don't have to get blitzed. Just have a nice
Take the edge off.
a nice Bloody Mary to go with your breakfast. Take the edge off like we do, and calms your nerves. It's good.
Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, there was one of my friends lives in Columbus, and there was a restaurant that had like a Bloody Mary bar
Oh, it's beautiful.
on Sundays, and we used to, you get hammered on Saturday night, and you're just dying, but if you get that alcohol back into your system, you kind of keep yourself from like falling off the edge in the hangover, and you also get some vitamins in you from the Bloody Mary mix and all the
If you
the
wanna go
olives
with
and
that.
celery. So it's a healthy unhealthy
It, yeah,
behavior.
I would agree with the unhealthy healthy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a wild one. I'm trying to look at my show notes. Do I have any other interesting topics? Only other thing that I had here was Sendejo's back to full practice, and Sheldon Richardson is expected to play. So
And we knew he would. He's a stud.
Ron-
I've got 35-6 is my
oh,
is my
a
score.
shellacking 35-6.
Yeah, I think they go in, they take care of business. It's quick and painless.
Let me look. What was the score last year? Browns, Jets, 2019. All right, so we beat them 23-3, and I think it's going to be similar to that. I would say 27-9.
All right, I got you down 27-9.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a. I think we're going to win. I don't think they've improved. I think with Darnold, I don't think he's as bad as. I don't think he's as replaceable as what some of the Jets fans want to see him be replaceable.
Yeah, I mean, he's got you and I that he's throwing to, so
That's true. And also probably I think you and I to hand the ball to.
yeah, exactly.
But that's the thing, like and I said this for years. Back when we had, the Cody Kessler years, the Deshaun Kaiser years, the Jake Delhomme years, I was sitting there and I'm like, you could put Tom Brady on this team. He's not going to win any more than like 7 games.
Yeah.
You have to have talent, and you have to have coaching. And the Jets don't have either. They really don't.
No, they don't.
It's unfortunately we don't get Greg Williams, because that would have been a fun rematch there again.
Yeah,
But
at least we don't have to worry about any type of revenge. Not that they're going to bring it, but
yeah, and it was really interesting that Giants game, like with those coaching decisions. I don't know if they were Freddie Kitchens' decisions to go for it on those 4th downs, or if they were if they're head coaching decisions. But I think a lot of us had seen those type of decisions, and we're like, wow.
yeah,
I mean, that was the old Browns. That was the last year Browns. Bad decisions, poor execution, which came back to bite us in the ass. And what are
Awesome.
they like? They're probably going to be like a 6-10 team.
Yeah.
So there you go. You got the same stuff, but I think arguably a lot less talent.
Yeah. I agree.
Um, well, I think we did it. We got a little over 2 hours,
Yeah.
short
Great
and
show.
sweet this week. But we are going to be back. And guys, I'd love to give away a Victory Monday mug, but I think they're still sold out.
Yep.
So unfortunately, we're not
Maybe
going to be
next
doing.
Wednesday.
Yeah, maybe we'll give away 2 next Wednesday
Yeah,
if you
there
guys
you
come
go.
back. If they come back into stock, I am pretty well connected with those guys, and they'll let me know when we have them back in stock since we push them so damn hard. We've pushed those mugs so hard that they are selling out every week.
Yeah. Like hotcakes, as they say.
Yeah, and I really do think it's Brown's Twitter that's doing this. I mean, we are
I agree.
going nuts on this thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, Mike, well, and everybody in chat as well, everybody have a very Merry Christmas.
Absolutely.
J-Rod, again, thank you for subscribing with Twitch Prime. I really, really appreciate that. Helps
His
us
birthday
grow.
too, right?
I think it's coming up.
J-Rod, yeah. Happy early birthday, J-Rod.
Yeah, happy early birthday, J-Rod. Welcome to the Brownie Postgame family. I was trying to think of, like, what are we naming this thing? Is it the Brownie Postgame, what is it?
Right.
Is the community, you can call it, Brownie Postgame Nation.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. That's just wildly odd. But I think the Brownie Postgame family, I think is a
Yeah,
cool
I
way
like that.
to describe the chat. And you guys are the real MVPs. The guys are showing up to the Wednesday show. Crouching Medium. We got Dan sitting there. Cheers, Dan. Merry Christmas to you guys.
All the guys, right? Mick the Dog, Keith,
Everybody,
Ryan
all you
Burlow,
guys.
Mario G. Yeah.
We got
Good times every Wednesday.
absolutely love you guys for being here. Appreciate you guys being here in chat with us.
Max.
Yes, Max Nikolenko. I'm working out. Max actually has some giveaway items that he's going to do. So I got to work that out with him. We got a couple games left, and we might have playoff games too. Knock on wood. But we could have some fun giveaways coming up, and we shall go from there. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching the Wednesday show with me and Mike Ristano, and joined for, I guess, the first hour with my dad. And we will see you guys. We'll be tweeting with you for the rest of the week. Have a Merry Christmas. Everybody stay safe. And we'll see you 11 o'clock Sunday morning for the pregame show. 11 o'clock. We'll see you guys there.
Sounds good. Merry Christmas, everybody. Enjoy.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Go Browns.
Go Browns.